Hey friends, I've got a fun video for you today because I'm doing a $5 grocery haul with meals, and I've got an opportunity for you to get some free money.
Today's video is sponsored by Temu. Now they are celebrating their second anniversary campaign, where they will give you $100. Yes, that's right, $100 cash to you. Just download the app using the link in our description box, or scan the QR code up here. Then search our code to get the promotion page and win 100 cash. This will apply to new users with qualifying orders. Guys, it is a $100 cash. Why wouldn't you take it? Remember to download the app using my code here or the link in the description.
Even if you're not a new user, don't worry because you can still go to my description box under this video and click that link to get $20 off your stuff. But first, let me show you what I got because I got some items that you might like to get for yourself. First thing I got was this rug set of 2. I got one rug for the bathroom, and then I got this more narrow rug for the hallway next to my pantry. It was just the perfect size for that space. And I just loved the pattern on this, and it has a nice fluffy pad in it for standing on. I just thought this was so pretty. And then the other one, like I said, is going in my bathroom. And the blue in this rug pattern matches the shower curtain. And I also have some orange flowers in there that this orange color matches. And this next item, I was so excited to get that I've already opened it. I have wanted this item for a long time. And so when I got the sponsorship, I was so excited to be able to order this finally, because many of you know I live in a very tiny place, and so I'm always looking for new storage options. These go on your fridge and you can put whatever you want in them, but a lot of people put spices. You could also use some nails and just put this to the wall, or some screws, but it has a powerful magnet in it, and so I'm planning to use this on my refrigerator, but this comes in a pack of 4. And I use the other 2 on a mini fridge that I have in my bedroom. I have my dog treats on the bottom, and then just some condiments and seasonings that I like to take in my lunch that I just don't have any room for in the kitchen. And this was another item that we already opened. This actually came with the handle off, but my son put this together for me. And this is just a small pan that we got. Just, a tiny one to make eggs in and things like that. I prefer the smaller pans for myself because I'm usually just cooking for one. Do you guys remember last year when I was telling you how much I've been enjoying my tea, especially in the winter? Well, the only problem with this is I did find out that tea bags are made with some plastics, and this does seep into the drink if you use water that's at a certain temperature. And I just use a kettle, and I didn't want to mess with that. So I wanted to start ordering loose leaf tea and find something that I could use to brew that in the cup. So I was pleased to find this on Temu. I thought this is the perfect solution. It's going to be much healthier for me, and I'll probably get my tea cheaper by purchasing it in loose leaf instead of in the bags. It had really great reviews, and yeah, it's just perfect. You put your loose leaf tea inside this, and it has these tiny little holes, and then this thing goes on the side of your cup. So I'm going to be using this to make some tea, and I couldn't be happier with this. And I finally got one of these clean and dirty signs to go on the dishwasher, just because I do think it will be especially useful, because sometimes people don't realize if it's clean or if it's dirty. And then this comes with a magnet, so it'll go right on the dishwasher, but in case you don't have a magnetized area, you can always use these sticky things to add that to whatever surface that you want to put it on. Okay, this was something else that I've been wanting for a long time. I was trying to be very practical with my items that I got, just to make sure that these are items that I really need and can use in my kitchen, because I am trying to go more towards minimalism and less stuff, but there are a lot of things that just make your life easier. And believe it or not, I didn't have a salt and pepper shaker. And so I've really been wanting these, not necessarily so much the pepper, but I really need a salt shaker. So I got this set. I'm going to wash these and then fill these up and see how I like them. My only concern with any salt and pepper shaker would be that the holes on top might be too small, but these look just about right. And I also got these little silver bullets. You guys probably remember I used to use these a lot more, but then they started kind of disappearing. And so I've been using them less and less. I think I only have one of these left. And this one came with lids, which I think is great because then I can use it for salad dressings and sauces and things like that to pack in my lunch. And it came in a set of 6. And then I got this set of 2 pillows. What I was thinking is I noticed a lot on Temu that they sell the covers for these. And I was thinking that since space is a hot commodity in my tiny space, that it would be a good idea just to have 2 of these pillows and then change out with the seasons, the different covers. Like I have this Halloween one that I like to put in my chair right now, but I was eyeing some fall themed covers that I thought looked nice that I might like to order, but I haven't ordered any of those yet. I'm going to wait and spend some time to see if that's the one I really like. I also thought that these were really cute. I do like bright colors to kind of mix in with some black and white. So I might end up getting that. But I also got this. It's just a little board and it's for your bookcase or the top of a shelf just to kind of celebrate the change of seasons. So I thought that was fun. I can't wait to decorate my bookshelves with this. And this next item is very interesting. I've been kind of creating a Zen den in my bedroom, you know, kind of surrounding myself with things I love, like things that represent my faith, pictures of animals, pictures of my family, plants, things like that. And so I found this and it's one of those peel and stick for your wall. They have so many different peel and stick options that I just had so much fun looking for this. But this is a tree branch. I just thought this was really cool. And I'm a huge nature lover, so I just thought that would create kind of a cool vibe in my room. And we are all animal lovers. So I got this otter print for the main bathroom. And I thought I would be able to get an inexpensive frame and put this on the wall. My son hasn't even seen this yet, but I thought it was so cute. And then I just got a couple cardigans. At work, I wear cardigans a lot. It's usually cold. So I got a maroon colored one and then this kind of rust colored ones. And they just had kind of a loose weave on them. But I ended up liking both of these. And then I also got a black shirt as well. So I ended up getting a lot of stuff. I also got these Halloween window clings, but I actually had just ordered from Temu like a month ago. And I already have quite a bit for Halloween. So I think I'm going to put this away and save it until next year. One thing that Temu has that I haven't been able to find anywhere else is these little treat bags. They're like the perfect size. And I like to get them for Christmas and also for like Halloween if you want to gift your family. Sometimes I'll make little treat bags for my family. But I got these for Christmas because I already got some Halloween ones, like I said, like a month ago. But so far, I haven't seen these anywhere in the US stores, but they're so cute. They have the little sticky thing that you just pull that off, fold it over, and then you can put some really cute little treats in them. I like to put fancy little treats in mine, like maybe some little chocolates, or I'll get some of those little coffee flavored candies, or just something that's special, or maybe even something homemade. And then add it to this. I just think they're so cute. I'll probably use some of these to gift my friends at work, and I like the way it came with a different designs on each one. I thought that was cool. I don't think the Christmas ones had different designs, but like I said, I got these last month. I did get a lot of stuff, and I hope that you will have fun with this. And if you don't qualify for the $100, hopefully you'll take advantage of at least the $20 and have some fun as I did. Okay, let's get back to the video. So I went out and I spent about $5 and I wanted to see what I could make with $5 worth of ingredients. And I started out with eggs because I thought this is a great thing to use. We've got some protein and good nutrition in here. Plus 12 eggs will go a long way. You could have 6 meals with 2 eggs each. And then I added some English muffins because I haven't had these for a while. But then I was thinking, my budget is almost gone with just these 2 ingredients. But then when I started thinking about it, I realized, wait a minute, there's actually quite a few different meals that we could make with these ingredients. I was immediately thinking, egg sandwiches, obviously, which you've probably seen at least a few times over the years. Also, we could make some French toast sticks with the English muffins. I think that would work really well. We could also make some eggs benedict. We could also make a bread pudding. I could also make an egg drop soup. All that's needed is a little chicken bouillon. So I have $1.19 left. I was thinking, what can I add to this that's really gonna help with my recipes? And I thought I would add a Granny Smith apple because I can use that to make a sauce to dip the French toast sticks in. We could also make some applesauce or maybe even possibly some apple jelly to go on a toasted English muffin. So at this point, I have 70 cents left. And I was thinking, what else could I get besides this apple that's going to add the most to these two ingredients? And I was thinking, if I do eggs benedict, I do need a lemon. And I was thinking, am I actually going to make regular eggs benedict, or can I make a version that's more budget friendly? But I'm not sure how I want to do this, but I do know I'll need a lemon. And I could also use the lemon to make some lemon preserves to go on a toasted English muffin. Generally, you have a slice of Canadian bacon on eggs benedict, but I was thinking I might like a slice of tomato. We could go either with a slice of fresh tomato, or we could roast these and do something similar to like a sun-dried tomato. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and dice this apple up, because I think I'm going to be using this in several different ways. Basically, I'm just going to try to get the best use out of this. Originally, I thought I would save some of these diced apples to make something else another day, but then at the end, I just decided to use all of the apples all at once. I'm going to use these slices to make some apple jelly, and I'm going to use the little chunks to make a sauce for my French toast sticks. Some of you might prefer a red apple because they are sweeter, and in that case, I would probably go with a Red Delicious. I just think that they are a really good all-around apple, and they're generally a very inexpensive one as well. But these Granny Smith were on sale, as you could see earlier in the video, and I do like a tart apple, and we're going to cook these so long that they're going to be sweet anyway, but I'm going to save a few chunks of apple to add in at the very last minute, just so that I can kind of retain some of that tartness. And then I'm going to add some brown sugar to this. You can also just use white sugar, that's fine. I added a touch of vanilla. If you don't have that, that's also fine. I am using it because it seems like the only time I have an opportunity to use that vanilla is when I'm cooking on this channel, and so I might as well be using it. I added some cinnamon here, and then you just cook this until they're caramelized, making everything else. And since I am using butter today, I added a few pats into this. When I make this without butter, I do add a touch of salt in here, but because the butter I'm using does have salt, I won't add it in addition. And you may have to adjust the liquid amount as the sauce thickens. And then with this pan, I'm just boiling the apples to get some apple juice for the apple jelly. And I'm going to go ahead and start making my French toast sticks. I think that the consistency of these are really going to be good for French toast sticks, because I usually don't eat French toast just because I don't like soggy egg bread. However, there's a fast food place that makes these little French toast sticks, and they are quite crispy, and I like the texture on them. My son usually gets them, but I don't remember which place that he gets them from. I want to say Jack in the Box, but I'm not positive. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the air fryer and get these a little bit crispy before I dip them into my batter. And these actually seem to be a little bit more dense than some of the English muffins out there. I get these in the cold section of my Walmart. They're always about 20 cents cheaper than the other section with the bread. So I got these for $1.48. I'm going to use water here, but by all means, if you have milk, go ahead and use that. You can also use some cream or some coconut cream, or coconut milk would be fine. And then I'm just adding a bit of sugar here. And when I was making these, I was thinking, wow, we could have made some pumpkin French toast sticks. If you have a can of pumpkin, throw a little puree in there. That would be delicious. Okay, I think that these turned out really well in the air fryer in terms of the texture. I'm just going to add these to the egg mixture and let them sit for a little while, and then put these onto a lined pan. And then I just checked my mixture here that's boiling, and I'm going to have to add a little extra water every now and then. And while those are soaking, I'm going to go ahead and make my mixture to roll these into when they're finished cooking. That was just some sugar, a little bit of salt, and some cinnamon. And then I'll just roll those when they're out of the oven. And when I was putting these on the pan, I realized that I should have cut up another one of these because I used 2 eggs. So if you use 1 English muffin, just use 1 egg. But I can go ahead and make double here. And then what I don't eat, I can put in the fridge. I should have sprayed my foil because, as you can see, it kind of stuck to it. I don't make these enough to realize. I did spray these with a little olive oil just to make them sticky, but you can just kind of drizzle some water over them as well if you would rather, or if you don't have any of the spray. I was just trying to get something to get them to have a little bit of moisture so that the seasoning would stick to it. This does look delicious, but the bread is a little browner than I would like it. Just aesthetically, it's just a little darker than I would like, but I'm going to try it. This one looks perfect. First, I'm going to try it just without it. And actually, it is surprisingly fluffy on the inside. I mean, it's not light and airy, but it's very moist. It's not crispy on the inside. It's only crispy on the exterior. And that applesauce is amazing. Trying to show you guys. The texture is actually really good. I don't usually like French toast, but I would eat this. I would eat this any day. And you can also dust this with powdered sugar if you'd rather. Apparently you can make powdered sugar by just blending up regular sugar into a fine powder form. All right. I was thinking to myself, I'm going to regret it if I don't try this so I can tell you guys which way is the best way to cook this, or which way I think. So I tried it by not cooking or toasting the bread first, and then I tried some with just lightly toasting the bread in the air fryer. And I thought I would see what the difference is, and I learned my lesson the first time, so I did spray my foil, and here we have the results. This top one is one that I did not pre-cook in the air fryer, and it is, I don't want to call it soggy, but it definitely feels more like French toast. And then this one is the one I lightly did, and I think that this one is the one that's probably going to be perfect. This one here looks almost like the last one, so I just removed that darker one. Okay, I'm going to try this one again. I feel like this is more what people have in their memory from eating French toast, but it just doesn't do it for me. This bread is dense enough that it doesn't soak up the egg all the way on the inside, which I kind of like. It just gets into the outer layers. And I think that this one is what most people would prefer. So I think the bottom line is just to be careful when you're toasting with the air fryer. And I don't know if you guys can hear, but there's a bee in my room. My dog, we were out on a walk and she stepped on a bee, and I think she carried the bee into my room, and the bee stung her, and it stung her on the left foot. Anyway, now I have this bee in my room. Obviously, it wasn't one of the kinds of bees that dies after it stings you. Anyway, if you wanted to, you could just make 2 fried eggs and make some cinnamon sugar toast with the English muffin on the side. Okay, now let me show you the apple jelly that I made. I decided to go ahead and add all the apples into this mixture just because I knew that I wasn't going to have time to make another item with the apples. So I pulled out the apples that had already cooked. I set those aside, and then I just kind of cooked the other apples for a little while to just get as much juice out of those as possible. And then I ended up straining these, and then I put these back into a pan. I'm pretty sure this was less than 1/3 of a cup. I cooked that until the sugar dissolved, and then I decided to use 1/4 of my lemon to add in a squeeze into my apple jelly just to give it some brightness. And I am picking out these seeds. Lemons are supposed to be full of pectin as well as apples, which is why they are good to make jelly with, because the pectin in them helps them to sit up and make that jelly-like substance. And then I just let this cook until it came up to a fairly high temperature, and I wanted it to kind of be very thick when it fell off the spoon. That's when I would know that it was ready. And I edited a lot of this video out, but I cooked this for a while, and I tried testing it with the spoon, and finally at this point here I realized that it was ready. So I turned the heat off. See how it kind of pulls off the spoon like that? So I did turn the heat off, and I kept stirring it, and this was kind of what it started looking like as it cooled down. And so I have this mini ball glass jar that I thought would be perfect. I added some hot water to that jar just to protect it, so that when I add this substance in, I did let it cool a little bit. That's why it's so thick, but it's still warm. So I wanted to heat that up. And this is going to be perfect with my breakfast tomorrow morning. Planning to have this on a toasted English muffin. And this is probably enough for at least 2, maybe 3 English muffins. Okay, I know that you know how to make eggs. The only reason I'm showing you this is because I have discovered the perfect way that I like fried eggs. I love this salt and pepper shaker. It is coming out at the speed that I want, which is important. I fry these up in the skillet until they get crispy on the outside. And because I do want the yolk to still have some liquid in it, I flip these, but just as quick as I flip them back over again. If you want to make beautiful eggs, then basting, that's how the restaurants do it. You've seen me do that before, where you just put extra oil in the pan and then you use a spoon and you kind of baste it with the oil. That makes a beautiful egg. And so if it's important to plating, then I like to cook the egg that way. It just looks so appetizing. But this is how I do it for myself when I'm just making eggs in the morning, because I'm going to be cutting these up, so it doesn't matter how beautiful they are anyway. And I did break one of the eggs. Probably should have used a bigger pan just so I would have more room to flip. I am buttering one side of this English muffin just because I know some of you can't vicariously enjoy this if you don't see me buttering it. Most of the time I don't use butter, but I do understand butter is delicious. I just don't buy it because it's expensive, and the only thing that I absolutely must have butter on is cornbread. And it does look like our apple jelly set up nicely. If I was serving this, I would just plate it with these little silver bullets, which are nice. But one thing I want to say about this apple jelly was it got a lot firmer than I thought it was going to get, which I didn't expect at all. In fact, I didn't even know that was an option. And I looked this up, and apparently it says if you overcook it or if you don't use enough sugar, this will happen. So either one of those is possible, but it does warm up after it's been out for a little bit. I don't make jelly and jam just because I don't really eat it very often. There is one occasion where I do really love it, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But for my viewers that are pro jelly makers, let me know, do you think I overcooked it too hot, or do you think it was not enough sugar? I'm thinking I overcooked it, but maybe I do need to have, like a candy thermometer or something. And then I'm just going to cut up my eggs and then add a little hot sauce to the top. I'm using sambal olik today. I usually use the chili garlic sauce, but this sambal olik is great for my friends that can't have garlic because it doesn't have garlic in there. It does seem like it's a little bit hotter than the other one for some reason. I may need to find a way to tame this down a bit. I want to go straight for the English muffin, but I know I'm going to appreciate it more after I've had a bite of these eggs. And the crispy, chewy texture of the outside of those eggs are perfect. And yes, this apple jelly is amazing. The flavor really is spot on, and it's good with or without the butter. This was a really delicious breakfast. It's amazing what you can do with just one apple. Now let me show you my favorite way to eat this jelly. I had this goat cheese at Walmart for $2.97, and if it was me to add anything into this meal plan, I would add this goat cheese. You can get this for $1 cheaper at Aldi, and I think Trader Joe's is about the same price as Walmart. But I love preserves with goat cheese. It just is so delicious. I also made another dish with this that I want to show you. I was using soap base, but you could use the toasted English muffin. Add the goat cheese to it. I used a little salsa verde, but you could also just use the apple preserves instead. And then I topped it with a little bit of vegan sausage. Some regular sausage would be probably even better because you'd get that fatty and juiciness to it. And then added the egg to the top, and this was so delicious. I've been thinking about this ever since I made it. It was just that good. I need to make that again soon. So I think goat cheese would be a good add-on because it would go good with the apple jelly and also some lemon preserves. I decided to use all of my tomato to make some roasted tomatoes, just to sweeten them up and dehydrate them a bit and give them a nice rich flavor. And I'm going to use these with my eggs benedict. I didn't realize it before because I haven't used it, but my air fryer does have a dehydrate function. I normally just bake these at a super low temperature, like 200, 250, somewhere in there, and then just kind of cook them quicker. But since I had that function, I went ahead and tried it this time, and they did turn out perfectly. I tried a bite before I put these away, and they were chewy and sweet and so good. I cut these in rounds because I plan to eat these with my little egg muffin sandwiches, and I plan to eat this on the eggs benedict, but if I were going to use this in pasta, I would have just cut this in slices. And I'll just keep these in the fridge until I'm ready to use them. And here is my version of an eggs benedict. I was going back and forth on whether to make a regular hollandaise sauce or whether to make a budget-friendly one. And in keeping with the spirit of my channel, I did decide to go ahead and try to make a budget-friendly version. There's a couple of different ways you can make a regular hollandaise sauce. You can take some egg yolks and blend in some hot butter along with some lemon, or you can cook the egg yolks. You can beat those in a bowl that's sitting on top of a pan of boiling water, and then once those get beaten well, then you can just add in the butter and the lemon juice. But you are using twice as many eggs and you're using a lot of butter. So this way is going to be much less expensive. And I am still going to add in some butter, and we're going to have that luxurious velvety yolk in a perfectly poached egg. So it's not like we'll really be missing out. I'm just using a little oil and some flour. And I'm also going to add just a small amount of butter, but it's nothing like the amount of butter that is normally put into a hollandaise sauce. And I put a squeeze of lemon here, and I also am adding in just a touch of salt. But I just made a regular roux, and to get that vibrant color, I just used the tiniest amount of turmeric. Not too much because you don't want it to be orange, but you do want it to be like a kind of a dark yellow. And this is about the consistency that I wanted. If I were just making this for myself, I would also add in some nutritional yeast. I think it would give it a nice savory flavor. But because I don't think it's a pantry staple in everyone's kitchen, I'm not going to use it today. Now I'm just going to melt this butter, and then this is ready to go. I tasted it and I realized I did need a little bit more lemon, and I'm going to add just a touch of sugar. My grandma used to say a pinch of sugar, and I would say that this is about a pinch. However, later on, I was thinking to myself, I should have used just a touch more. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and make my perfectly poached eggs. You may have seen this before. You just put a little bit of white vinegar in your water and let that come to a boil. And while that's coming to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and strain my eggs. It eliminates a lot of the wispies and results in a beautiful looking poached egg. I think I told this before, but I first fell in love with poached eggs when I was visiting this French restaurant in Vegas. It was called Mon Ami Gabi, and I had these most beautiful poached eggs, and I decided when I went back home that I was gonna make sure to learn how to make the perfect poached egg, and it is so easy. Anyway, you bring this to a boil, and then I turned off the heat, or you can set this off of the stove, but I always wait until it is no longer boiling, and then I drop these in, and then I set the timer on my watch for 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is going to be over easy. You can do 4 minutes for over medium, or maybe you might just want to, try this on your own. Maybe for you like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get my tomatoes out from the fridge and start dressing my muffin. You can also use some kitchen scissors if you want to clean up your eggs a little bit further. You can also make these in advance and put them in a water bath and then add them back into hot water right before you serve them. But don't leave them in the hot water too long because it'll continue to cook the egg. And then I looked around to see if they had some green onions because I was thinking about making the egg drop soup, but they didn't have green onions on sale. The cheapest I could get was 99 cents. So I'm just going to use those freeze-dried chives that I have to give it a little color on the top. But obviously, if you want, you can use some parsley or dill or whatever you have that's green. That's just going to give it that pop of color. And I don't like a lot of hollandaise sauce on mine because, again, this should have some good yolk inside, and that will spill out here. These eggs are kind of small. Again, if you're planning to make this, for a special occasion, probably better to get the jumbo size eggs. And this didn't quite spill out, but actually for yolk, this is probably the way I would prefer mine. And I wasn't sure how this budget hack was going to turn out on these, but this was actually a really delicious meal. It did taste very luxurious. A person could always play around with that sauce, adding different things in there to try to achieve the flavor that you want, but the lemon in it just really brightens everything up, and I can definitely taste that butter as well. Although I would be, I think, fine having no butter in it at all, as long as the flavor and the brightness is there to accentuate that luxuriousness of the yolk flavor. But we saved a lot by eliminating those 2 extra eggs, and this way we're able to get more meals out of the supplies that we had. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to make a few recipes that you might not automatically think of. But obviously, if you wanted to do some add-ons for this, an avocado or the goat cheese, like I said, or even some bacon would be great. But I will be off next weekend on my vacation, so I'll see you guys the following week. But in the meantime, I hope that you will enjoy some of my older videos. Thanks so much, friends, and have a good week.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So